So, good afternoon, Ostrava. We just saw a speech about how you can get inside of your own head and why you should do that. And I'm actually here to tell you that you should get out of your own head. But first I want to tell you the story of a hamster. When I was a hamster, I spent a lot of time on that wheel. And I'm sure many of you out there know exactly the kind of wheel I'm talking about. It's the wheel of rumination, the wheel of going over thoughts in your head over and over again, but never taking any action on the thoughts that you have. Thinking over decisions, indecisions, decisions you made, maybe regretted, but never making a change, never getting off the wheel. And why do we do that? Why do we stay on that wheel when we know deep down we should get off? In my perspective, part of that is because it's safe on the wheel. It's familiar. And even though we may be unhappy there, it is a safe place. Action is risky. So how did I get off that wheel? Two things happened which sent me on a journey to the program that I'm going to talk to you about today. The first was a conversation I had with a colleague of mine who is an economist. Now, I worked with economists in Prague for 15 years, and it is the dismal science, that is true, but they're not dismal people. And I had a conversation with this guy who was a specialist in unemployment, especially youth unemployment, and I'd grown to have an interest in this. And I asked him one day, very innocently, have you ever spoken to any of the young unemployed that you write about, that you analyze? And his answer shocked me. He said, I don't need to. I have all the data I need to make predictions about unemployment rates, and I will collect more data later on to find out what the impact of policies were. I don't need to talk to these people. I left that conversation deeply disturbed because I knew then that our values, my values and the values of the people I worked with, as much as I respected them, we diverged completely. I didn't want objectivity, and objectivity is a great thing, and I'm not denigrating that. We need that kind of work. But what I wanted was to get into the messiness of the human condition. I wanted to hear the stories of each and every one of these people. I wanted to know what was the day-to-day grind that they were going through with long-term joblessness, when you have 1 year, 2 year, 3 years without a job, and how does that impact you and your family and your relationships? And that's not something that can be captured by these abstract and objective kinds of analyses. So that was one thing. And the second one was this. At about the same time I was having this crisis of faith in economics, a friend of mine said, let's go to a theater audition. Okay, I had no interest in the theater whatsoever, but she dragged me along, and I went to the audition, but they didn't know that I didn't want to audition. So I opened the door, they thrust a script at me and say, sit down and read. Okay? So I read, and I instantly fell in love with this. Why? Because in the theater, these people in the theater were my kinds of people. Definitely my kinds of people. They wanted to embrace the messiness of human condition. It's not all black and white. They weren't objective. They were purely subjective. And this was a wonderful, wonderful place for me. And so I left that thinking, oh my God, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. And as I worked more in theater, on the production side as well as the performance side, I got to know that they really had this wholehearted engagement and the magic of creating something out of nothing. So those were two events that I had that were really quite influential for me. And it planted a seed. It planted a seed in my mind for how I could bring these things together. How could I bring together the problem of youth unemployment and my passion about that, and the passion about theater, and all this stuff together? Well, I wanted to solve two problems. The first was the problem of the large numbers of youth who are unemployed, long-term unemployed. Does anybody out there actually know the percent of youth unemployed worldwide? Make a guess. it's a chance to practice your English, so come on, don't be shy. Okay. 40! Bingo! Yes, 40%. 40% of the unemployed worldwide is worldwide. 40%. What about in the European Union? Or actually, in the European Union, there are 7.5 million unemployed youth who are not in education, not in employment, and not in training. 7.5 million. Now tell me the percent in Czech Republic. 16. Actually, Czech Republic is doing pretty well, relatively speaking. It's 16% in Czech Republic. In Ostrava, that number is just above 20%. In Slovakia, the number of unemployed is 30%. And in Greece and Spain is 50%. 1 in 5 youth in Greece is unemployed. That's 250,000 people. This is an enormous problem. So I had 2 problems, however, that I wanted to bring together. The first was the large numbers of unemployed youth who have tremendous talent and potential. Not having them in employment or education means we're wasting all of that potential because they are inactive. And when you're inactive, what happens? You get attracted to things which are unproductive, like drugs and alcohol and perhaps criminality. So this wasted potential, I could not stand by and watch this potential go to waste. I'm an educator for 25 years. This hits me in a place that is very emotional. So I wanted to, but they don't have the work skills, they don't have the work habits, and they don't have the kind of attitude that businesses are looking for. But here's the thing. If you ask 70% of universities, high schools, or training programs, they will say, we are training the youth for exactly the kinds of skills that businesses want. We're teaching them exactly what they need. Well, if that were the case, why aren't they getting the jobs? And if you ask the employers, 70% of employers say, nope, we're not getting, these kids that are coming to apply don't have the skills, they don't have the right attitude, they don't have the work habits, and they don't have the experience. So these 2 are talking past each other. And I thought, okay, well, what kind of program would bridge the gap between educational institutions and what employers think, number 1. Number 2, what kind of program would have better outcomes than the 20% success rate of current training programs? That's it. Training programs for youth unemployed currently in Europe have only a 20% success rate. We have to do better than that. We have to do better than that. And the third is, what kind of program would attract kids or youth between 15 and 25 years old? Because that's the age range for youth unemployed. That's what they call youth unemployed, is 15 to 25. Well, so I batted this idea around with some friends and some other people, and I said, I want to put all these things together, and I want to put a program together that will do that. And here was the response I got. Laura, get a grip on yourself. This was mostly the response. Not many people had much faith in it, but there were some that did have faith in it. And for them, I'm very grateful. But I wanted to show them wrong. I wanted to show them that no, this actually, there's something that can work. So I looked around Europe to see what other programs were out there. And there was one that I was inspired by, which is the Project Fabric in Germany, and the scheme called Job Act, and Grupa Trope. And they have a very innovative combination of, for youth unemployed, with theater and businesses. So I took this idea and I ran with it. And this is the program, 2E Theater Lab. 2E Theater Lab is a program that I have launched. It's a 10-month program, and this is a distinct difference between most programs in Europe. Most programs in Europe are 6 weeks to 2 months long. They only teach them basic skills. You teach them the basic skills, and then after the training program is over, you send them out and say, good luck finding a job. More power to you. okay? And then they don't get the job. That's why they have the 20% placement rate. The 10-month program I'm talking about here has 2 phases. The first phase is 5 months in which the students, I would call them students now, the students, they actually conceive and write a play. They produce it, they stage it, and they perform it. The performance is an official premiere before the public. The second phase is a business internship with a local business community. Now, let me explain a little bit how that works. This is not a game. This is not a play that it's an academic exercise. This is something with real stakes. The play is something that comes from them. I want to hear their stories of their lives. Their stories then get put into a dramatic form, a creative context, where they can be heard, where their stories have value, and where other people will pay to hear them, to hear the stories, in a dramatic arc. The kids themselves have to do the entire production, not just perform on the stage. But there's all kinds of things behind the scenes. There's the stage design, the costume, the technical, the lighting, the costumes, the PR, the marketing. They have to control all of it. And here's what it does. It teaches them the social and professional skills that businesses are looking for, including resilience, motivation, responsibility, accountability. But most of all, it brings out in them the self-confidence and the leadership and the esteem that is crushed by years of joblessness. It's a hopeless place to be. Let's get them out of that hopelessness and bring them to a place where they can feel that they have created something out of nothing and be accountable for the success that they have. The business internship is used to capitalize on the skills that they learn in the first 5 months of the program. Now, in those first 5 months, I work with a career counselor as well as a theater professional. And part of the role of the career counselor is to determine the talents and the interests of these participants, of which there will be 15. For example, you have a man, who's 18. And he wants to do stage design. We give him a piece of paper and we say, here's the script, here's the concept, go away, if he's an introvert, go off, go off and think about the concept for the stage. And he comes back and it is not perfect, but it is definitely workable. Definitely workable. The girl who's painfully shy and cannot get up on a stage. She wants to work backstage and work on marketing and PR. Then she comes back and says, actually I love PR, I love working on that. So we try to find her an internship that is matched to her interest and her skills that she demonstrated in the first 5 months. We work closely with local businesses to try to create those kinds of internships that would then develop those interests and the skills of those first 5 months. The guy who did the blueprint for the stage design, maybe that's a future architect. Maybe that's a future engineer. Maybe she's a future marketing professional. But we would never know that. We would never know what talent, what hidden talent and potential they have unless we talk to them and develop them and mentor them over a long period of time. We stay with them. We are there. We are not their heroes, but they become their own heroes. Because by the end of the program, we hope that we will have a better success rate. Well, they will either get a long-term employment through the internship, because that's the experience portion. They get the experience in an internship, they have the skills. Now they're more capable of securing long-term employment. Or maybe they will go back to school to get further education in the things that they found out about themselves during this program. Or perhaps start their own venture. This is the way I want to bring out the hidden potential of these young people. I think we should all be part of this, to try to develop this. Oops. The program is still in its initial phases. So we are moving into the pilot phase in 2015. And I want to just end by saying that I hope that this program can come to a theater near you in 2015 or beyond. And I feel strongly that if the young in Ostrava, in particular, can benefit from this program, I have a belief in it. I know I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. We are definitely going to make a lot of mistakes with it. And it will grow, and it will develop. And I plead to you today to help us in any way that you can, and give us your support for the young of Ostrava and the young everywhere to reduce this unemployment rate and to bring out the potential and the creativity that we have right now innately in our young. Thank you very much.